Arjun was an 18-year-old boy who lived in a quiet village at the foot of a towering mountain called Mount Ashvara. The mountain was the tallest in the region and a symbol of wonder and fear for everyone in the village. From the day Arjun could remember, he had always been fascinated by it. While others saw the mountain as something to avoid, he saw it as a challenge. He would often sit outside his small house, staring at the peak, imagining himself at the top. One morning, as the sun rose, Arjun turned to his mother and said, "One day I'll climb that mountain." His mother looked at him with concern and said, "Arjun, climbing that mountain isn't just hard, it's dangerous. Many have tried and failed. Some never came back. Why would you take such a risk?" Arjun smiled softly. "I don't know why, mother, but I feel like it's calling me. I have to try." Though worried, his mother saw the determination in his eyes. She placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Remember, the greatest challenge isn't the mountain, it's your own doubts." The next morning, before anyone in the village was awake, Arjun packed a small bag with some food, water, and a blanket. Standing at the base of the mountain, he looked up. It was massive. He took a deep breath and whispered, "One step at a time." The journey began easily enough. Arjun felt confident as he walked, the soft ground beneath his feet. But as he climbed higher, the forest thinned and the terrain became rough. Loose rocks slipped under his feet and the air grew colder. Soon he reached a steep, rocky slope that looked nearly impossible to climb. For a moment he hesitated. "Maybe this is too hard," he thought, but shaking off the fear, he said to himself, "I can't stop now." Slowly and carefully he began to climb. He slipped a few times, scraping his hands and knees. But he refused to give up. After hours of struggle, he finally made it past the slope. Exhausted but proud, Arjun looked back at how far he had come. The view below was already breathtaking, but he knew there was still a long way to go. As he climbed higher, the challenges only grew. Arjun found shelter under a rocky ledge. As the storm raged on, he felt his spirit weaken. But as he looked down at the path he had already climbed, he remembered the rocky slope he thought he couldn't conquer. He remembered the forest and how far he had come. "I have made it this far. One more step, just one more," he said to himself. As he climbed a narrow path, he saw an old man sitting calmly on a rock. He looked completely at peace. The old man asked, "You look tired, young man. Why are you climbing this mountain?" "I want to reach the top," Arjun said. "I want to prove to myself that I can do the impossible." The old man said, "Many people climb this mountain for different reasons, but let me tell you a secret. The top isn't what matters. What truly matters is how you face the challenge on the way. The mountain doesn't test your strength, it tests your spirit." Arjun thought about the old man's words as he thanked him and continued his climb. His legs ached and his lungs burnt, but something inside him felt lighter. He realized the journey itself was teaching him patience, resilience, and courage. Finally, after days of climbing, the summit was in sight. Arjun's heart raced as he took his final step. His body was exhausted, but his determination carried him forward. When he reached the top, he stood still, looking out at the endless mountain and valleys below. The sun was rising, painting the sky with brilliant colors. Arjun's eyes filled with tears, not because he had reached the summit, but because of everything he had learned along the way. He whispered to himself, it was never about the peak, it was always about the climb. When he returned to the village, the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the fields. His mother was waiting for him at the gate, her face filled with worry and relief. "You did it," she said. Arjun nodded and smiled. "Yes, mother, but I realized something. The mountain wasn't the real challenge. It was my own fears and doubts. Once I overcame those, the peak didn't seem so impossible." His mother hugged him tightly, proud of the strength her son had found within himself. Together they looked at the mountain as the star began to twinkle in the night sky. This story teaches us that the greatest challenge we face are not the ones in front of us, but the ones inside our minds. When we conquer our fears and doubts, nothing is impossible. It's not the destination that defines us, but the journey and the lessons we learn along the way. So no matter how tough the journey seems, remember, the light at the end of the tunnel is always within reach if you keep moving forward.